Welcome, Bears fans, to another edition of the Bear With Us podcast, training camp edition. Football season is finally here. The Bears are back on the field, whether we like it or not. It's happening, and we're diving straight into this thing. So we got our usual suspects here: Nick, Austin, and Aiden, and we got a guest with us, Noah Adamany. He was live at Bears camp today, so we thought we'd bring him on and talk what he saw a little bit today at camp, and we'll kind of decipher the news this week as well. And so, but Noah, we're gonna go straight to you, man. So what was the highlight of the day at camp today? Was it the food trucks?
It is an absolute pleasure to be joining you tonight on Bear With Us, and I know I'm in great company with all of us having great ties to the state of Iowa and also our beloved Chicago Bears. I want to say that off the bat. But in terms of camp today, it was a tad bit disappointing in terms of the crowd. There were a great amount of people, but I would say the first hour of camp was a little bit tame. But as soon as the autographs came out toward the end, that's when everyone started to make themselves known. But in terms of what I saw on the field, Justin Fields, of course, is always going to be the storyline every day of camp because we need to see offensive production and see him take the next step. And I will not sugarcoat it. I don't think he had the greatest day. I know it's only day 2 of camp, and we're over a month out from week 1, but I think he turned it on toward the back half of the day today with some unbelievable tosses to Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney, both on similar plays right down the middle in some 7-on-7 drills. And those were the highlights of the afternoon. No one will say anything different because all eyes are on Justin Fields, but he had some pretty rough throws in the beginning of practice. One interception was not his fault. That was tipped off of N'Keal Harry's hand and into the breadbasket of Eddie Jackson for a score. But I think it was a pretty average day from him, and there's only room to improve from here. But the last segment of practice really is where he showed his true colors, which was great to see.
Now, let me jump in with a question on Kmet, because I know that's one of your guys, and he was probably the name on offense that I saw not tweeted about the most. Obviously that was Fields, but kind of most positively, in addition to maybe a lineman here and there on Matthias's burners. But what did you like from Kmet, and can you describe that play a little bit? Because I'm not sure if people kind of got video of it, but I didn't really see it. And I know that you and I have talked on our respective podcasts with the Juice Time, that we kind of expect him to have a big year and feel that he has to for Fields to be successful.
Nick, you're absolutely right. I think it's been a long time coming in terms of Cole Kmet and his ascension into a pass catcher, and we're finally seeing that progression. I have been a big critic of his the last couple of years and his inability to catch the ball in big moments. And I will say that he looked consistent out there today. And that big play that seemingly everyone was talking about on Twitter and the whole crowd at camp was in awe over. Yes, it was a great pass by Justin Fields, but Cole Kmet snagged that. It was a back shoulder throw, and he was falling away into the dirt. So fantastic throw, but I would argue a better catch by Cole Kmet, and we have not seen that on Sundays in the past. So if he can keep that rolling into the season, he will be a reliable pass catcher for JF1, so long as there's protection on the front lines.
Speaking of guys who catch the ball, but N'Keal Harry is he dropping passes more than he's catching them in practice so far? By the scope of Twitter, the ones that you see dropping today, it was like his name was all over it. But maybe it sounded like he made a great catch on some certain plays too, but I'm still kind of worried about his drops.
Well, you
if you
definitely
will.
should be worried about him, Matthias. I mean, I think everyone has a negative connotation with him because of his, poor few years with the Patriots, and so not a lot of Bears fans are high on the signing. But I think he's getting his feet wet. He's never played with any of these teammates,
Yeah.
but for this week, so he is kind of at a disadvantage in that regard, and I think he will improve, but I do understand the fan base's disdain for the signing because if Bill Belichick is getting rid of a wide receiver, there has to be something wrong with him.
Yeah, I saw a quote that they were talking about N'Keal Harry when he got traded to the Bears about how Belichick was just willingly just going to toss him out the door, basically. But, there's some words out there that, it's Belichick runs a pretty tight ship and not a lot of guys can obviously thrive in that kind of system, and they go somewhere else and they're just fine. So maybe that's the type of situation. I'm hoping that's the type of situation that we see with him, because I mean, he's got all the physical traits and, the tools to be a good wide receiver in the NFL. It just hasn't come to fruition just quite yet, at least with the Bears.
I'm definitely hoping that's the case. And I think a huge reason why the Bears signed him is because of the run game. We talk about Byron Pringle and now N'Keal Harry. They're known as blocking receivers. So maybe he will be more effective in the run game, and we can rely on Velus Jones and Darnell Mooney to catch the ball downfield.
So Velus Jones Jr. looking pretty decent in camp so far. I didn't see much of his name today, but I mean, maybe that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah, I think he had a decent day. I mean, it's his first training camp ever. His name not being mentioned is probably a good thing at this point. I mean, he's keeping his head down and working hard. I crossed paths with him as soon as I was getting to the field. We kind of were walking in at the same time, and he went straight to a couple of young fans in front of me signing their balls and, kind of getting in the good graces of the fan base, which I love to see. So I am hoping tomorrow at camp I see a few more targets his way, hopefully working with the ones and not catching the ball from Trevor Siemian.
Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah. How about the rest of the rookies then? Anyone else that stood out their first couple days at camp, their first go around?
I mean, I definitely want to hear from you guys. I know Nick will have a lot to say, especially about this man, Jaquan Brisker. He was a highlight reel today, breaking up passes, getting his hands on the ball as much as possible. I think I was a little critical of the pick when it came down, but he looks to be a ball hawk and eerily similar to the first couple years of Eddie Jackson when he came into Chicago. So it's maybe too early to tell, but I know from what I saw today at camp, he could very well be a household name even in his rookie year.
Yeah, I personally
go ahead, Nick. Nope, you're good.
I personally think, he's got the chance to be kind of one of the more NFL ready rookies this year. And you're exactly right. I remember going back to the draft, which really was a fun day kind of, for the Bears and Iowa State times as well. And I think I had seen his name a lot, mostly good things today. And it didn't really surprise me. Obviously, the offense isn't necessarily kind of shining with flying colors either, so you expect a lot of defensive names like him. Obviously, Jackson with that play. And I saw, a couple other things mentioned. But I really like the pick. And, kind of based on people that I've spoken to, just that, covered Big Ten teams more recently than me and things like that, they're really high on him. So I'm excited about that. And I'm glad to hear that on a day where there were really only 4 or 5, from what I could see, maybe highlight plays or names consistently being passed around today.
Don't forget defensive side of the ball, Lamar Jackson, man. He was sounded like he was all over the place today. Can't forget him.
A very notable name, not the one that you normally hear when it comes to the National Football League. But I was on that side of the field where he picked off, I believe it was Trevor Siemian at the time, and there was a bleacher section to the left of me, you would have thought we were at a game on Sunday afternoon. That's how hyped up the crowd was. I think part of it has to do with such a particular name that he carries and kind of the humor that goes around with it. But he could be in the mix when it comes to the end of August and early September if he continues to have practices like today. I mean, Trevor Siemian has started a lot of games in the National Football League. I know he's a career backup, but he has stepped in at times for a handful of teams. So that's a pretty darn good football player that's throwing the ball that Lamar Jackson was able to track down pretty easily today.
Yeah, and then another thing I noticed, just kind of watching the scope of reports and things on Twitter, but the one thing I will say that's kind of worrying me so far in the short 2 days of camp, maybe I shouldn't worry, but so Kyler Gordon being moved inside the nickel when they go into that set, but which is fine because he's played there at Washington. He did great things in there, and I think he's well suited to do that when they need to. But my worry is the guy that they're putting in the other corner spot when that happens in Kendall Vildor. I don't know. Maybe it's just because Thomas Graham wasn't at practice today, and I feel like I'd feel a little bit better if Thomas Graham was that guy. But just something about Kendall Vildor just doesn't spark the confidence in me to, have that, if let's just say, I don't even know who would be out there that they'd be Jefferson in Minnesota. Let's just put it that way, him and Vildor, that's an L every time for the Bears.
Yeah, Matthias, I definitely agree with you in terms of Thomas Graham Jr. I think Bears fans have a little bit more faith in him, partly because we saw a lot of him in college at Oregon, and obviously there's not a lot of tape on Kendall Vildor before his NFL career. And I'm honestly excited about the secondary as a whole. I know I was honestly more excited about Kyler Gordon at the time than Jaquan Brisker at the beginning of the draft, and I would like to see Kyler Gordon's name pop up a little bit more as training camp rolls along. But this secondary, if you talk about Eddie Jackson, if he can have a resurgent year, Jaquan Brisker, let's put him in the conversation as one of the top rookies to watch on the defensive side of the ball, and Kyler Gordon as well. We drafted him high for a reason. I think Matt Eberflus is doing exactly what he came to do, and is rebuild that defense. That's his identity. That's our identity as a franchise. So defense wins championships in my mind.
Were you near the exchange where Eberflus lit up Eddie Jackson for not finishing the play today?
At the time, I was actually pretty locked in on the offensive line. That was early on in practice, but I did hear that he was calling out numerous players, not just Eddie Jackson, saying you can't fake it. And we've heard a lot
jolly's hard. Saying.
We've heard a lot of what Matt Eberflus, what he's all about coming from Indianapolis, and it's no joke. Defense is his life, and he needs to inject that back into the veins of players like Eddie Jackson, who has lost his heart the last couple of years, kind of showing up as a no-name on Sundays.
Yeah. Yep. And you got anything you want to know about camp today?
Where's Mitch?
Oh my
God. Dearly beloved.
Aiden, I'll tell you exactly where Mitch is. All right.
This is not going the way you think it's about to, by the way.
I absolutely love Justin Fields, and I know that he is going to spend a decade or more as a flourishing quarterback for this franchise. But we need to see him take the step in week 1 against Trey Lance, a guy in his draft class. We need to see it first Sunday. But in terms of Mitchell Trubisky, he's been dealt a bad hand again
Thank you.
by Pittsburgh drafting Pittsburgh's own.
The guy can't
Kenny
catch a
Pickett.
break.
Let the man start a 17-game season without anyone breathing down his neck.
Oh my God.
What did I tell you? The first time we did this show, Aiden, I said, my brother's probably a bigger fan than you, dog. It's his favorite athlete.
And just to continue on that notion, I honestly did not believe it was real when I saw some media members tweet this out yesterday at the practice that was only available to media and friends and family, that the pro shop was selling $20 Mitchell Trubisky jerseys, and I had to see it for myself today. They are not the printed on numbers. They are the official jerseys that the players wear on the field.
So did you get one?
Are being sold for $19.99.
How many did you
I
scoop
bought
up?
one because I have to complete the trifecta. That's my third Mitch jersey.
Oh my God.
And it
We're gonna
is
get along real
orange
fine, though.
alternate. $20.
Matthias, I told you, bro.
A men's
You'd have to
extra
give me
large.
$20 to take a Mitch Trubisky jersey. Come on.
I almost bought out the whole rack.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, isn't it just amazing how like a guy has been gone for this is a second training camp, a guy has been away, and people are still talking about him as if like he's like Matt Eberflus's right-hand man at practice right now. Like it's amazing. Like today, like NBC Sports Chicago tweeted out something like Mitchell Trubisky doing this in practice. Somebody's like, let it go. He's fucking gone.
He is on a different NFL team in a different conference.
It's literally across the country in Pittsburgh. Just stop.
Guys, I got to say this before we move on because it kind of goes to how big this dude's fandom is. He wanted this guy probably since 2016 for the Bears, whereas I was at the time, obviously wanting Deshaun Watson. I think most Bears fans did, and now we kind of see where that's gone. But I remember that night. Tar Heels are like my second favorite school. And I remember that draft night. I was at a B-Dubs. I was so upset. And this dude was just loving it.
Man of the people right here, guys. Just look at everybody just wanting a little bit of piece of Justin Fields.
Noah, is that
Everyone
you?
did
Is that
today.
you 4 guys to the left, bro, with the glasses?
I am actually, you can't see me in that photo, but I am off to the left, and I had actually taken my Justin Fields jersey off and was waving it in the air because what frustrates me, and I don't want to be one of the, stereotypical adult autograph seekers, but what frustrates me is that Justin Fields, he has a beautiful football mind, and he knows who in that crowd actually cares about the game of football and is wearing his jersey. If I'm a player, I'm looking at guys that have spent $120 that have come to camp and represented my name on their back and singling them out to give them an autograph or take a picture. I know, you guys might have a differing opinion. You got to do it for the kids, which I am absolutely supportive of, but we're young guys. We're around the same age as Justin Fields. Show some love for the guys that spend Monday through Friday all the way into the weekend worrying about the next snap.
Yeah, I think if I know these guys, I think there'd be a couple disagreements, especially from the guy with the visor, the hat on. But I love it, bro. I can't.
I went to Family Fest one year.
Oh,
okay.
This
is when Peanut Tillman and Urlacher are still there, but
the good years. Okay.
Yeah, the glory days, if you will. So I came around it would have been the east side of Soldier Field, and they had some player meet and greets out there, and we got there late, but I was literally one person away from having Peanut Tillman sign a hat that I had. And then the PR lady comes out and grabs him and is like, hey, it's time to go. And I was like, I was like, so fucking close. Fucking
That
Pete.
happened with Coach Eberflus today. I was inches from shaking his hand, and one of his handlers had to pull him aside, maybe
Make
15,
it sound
20,
like he's a dog.
maybe 15, 20 minutes after practice was broken up. And I was a little bit disappointed in that, but I did get quite the grin from him before practice as I shouted Coach Flus when seemingly nobody around me actually knew who it was walking by, which was disappointing to see.
Who's this guy?
I'm thinking, we've got a couple things just because it was a pretty busy week, but tell Aiden real quick who you got to meet 2 years ago.
Well, Mitchell Trubisky and I may have had our arms around each other's shoulders for a couple of photos down in Bourbonnais a few years back, because back then it was kind of hard pressed to find people wearing the number 10 jersey because half of the fan base had already given up on him at that point. So that was a situation where he saw 10 on the jersey. Nick did a little assist for me and kind of signaled him in my direction, and Trubisky couldn't have been more gracious.
I saw that he got a picture today with a kid who on his shirt had the kissing titties tweet.
Oh, my Lord, that's incredible.
Good
Man,
Lord.
talk about man of the people. This man
Man of
might
the
not play
people.
again this year, and he is embracing the fan base on the steel curtain.
No, he'll start the year, no doubt.
I don't know. Kenny Tiny Hands Pickett might come in and steal the show.
I think I trust Tomlin and kind of the long-term philosophy of a team enough, because if the veteran in Mitch, struggles or gets off to a bad start, whatever, then you hand the keys to the car over and you just kind of let Pickett go from there. And hey, don't count out Rudolph. No, I'm kidding. I can't stand that dude.
Does he still have a dent in his head from Myles Garrett?
Yeah, I don't know how he's even able to suit up. I'm surprised he has the ability to speak after that brawl.
Well, we'll shift gears here a little bit, but anybody worried about Roquan Smith's situation? Obviously, he's there. He's participating in meetings. He's hanging around practice, helping young guys, but anybody worried about that getting done or not?
I don't think I'm worried, just kind of based on some of the comments we've, heard recently. Probably one of my favorite players, certainly one of the most successful. I know Noah's really high on him as well. And, I kind of want to hear, I guess, some of your thoughts, not only if you're concerned, but if you kind of see the value at that linebacker position that he plays in the, kind of modern day NFL. I know some fairly notable Bears, like people on Twitter and things that I tend to respect and, agree with some of their football takes. We're kind of questioning that. But, I mean, I'm somebody, they're not going to be the LA Rams, right? But I'm someone that if you're able to have the money for your best players, you make it happen. That's my opinion there.
So in terms of the scheme that the Bears run in defense, all right, so and Flus has said this a lot, but his most valued positions on that defense are the 3 technique, the nickel corner, and the will linebacker spot. And why he says the will linebacker spot, and it makes sense if you go back and watch like the Bears defense of Lovie Smith. And obviously, Brian Urlacher's great and covered a lot of ground, did everything you could possibly want a middle linebacker could do in the game. He did it all. But if you go and like watch a lot of like the flowing plays, they go straight to that will linebacker spot. And that's why Lance Briggs is so highly regarded for his time in the NFL and making all those tackles. And he was paid really well in the NFL to play that position. So Flus says that's his number, one of his top 3 positions in that defense because, and now, well, not Darius Leonard, but Shaquille Leonard is his name, changed his name. He's making 150 tackles a season. So you need a guy that has a proven tackler at that position, because if that's where they're going to kind of push, plays defensively towards that guy, you want a proven defender in that position. And if it's going to cost whatever the high market value is for a linebacker to keep Roquan Smith on this team, I'm paying it. I don't even care. Like, and it's the same thing with like us all. I don't know. Noah, are you a Cubs fan too?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we can all agree on this. We are all sick and tired of the Cubs and the Bears having the homegrown talent and then just letting it walk out the door because they don't give a fuck. So just pay the guy. He's been in your organization. He's done everything. He's at this rate, he's probably going to be in the upper echelon of the all-time greats of linebackers to play for the Chicago Bears just because he's a tackling machine and he's all over the field. He plays hard. He doesn't bitch about anything. He doesn't have an agent. He doesn't make things cloudy. He just wants to play, be paid, and he wants to be a Bear. So seems pretty simple to me.
I'd love to chime in on the Roquan Smith discussion because this may be perceived as a hot take or, overhyping one of my favorite players, but I genuinely believe he is the most talented football player on this roster.
Oh, yeah.
And this is his second go-around holding out in camp, and that was his rookie year back in 2018. We're no stranger to this situation. He knew his value back then, and if you would have asked me at that time, I probably would have had a different opinion on it, but he's backed it up year over year on the field, and I know the Pro Bowl has become a joke in the last several years since they switched it to being played before the Super Bowl, but he had arguably the best season, maybe along the lines of a Devondre Campbell in the Packers last year. They probably had the two best seasons of any linebackers in the NFC. And yes, Roquan Smith got the all-pro bid, which is what really matters, but he still is not getting the respect he deserves around the league, more so just in the NFC and specifically the NFC North. But I will give him credit. Yes, he is not practicing, but from what I saw out there on the field today, he was very much present in the moment and vocal within the linebacking core. So it's not like he doesn't want to be out there, but he needs to be paid as the top linebacker in the conference. No question about it.
Austin, how do you feel about it? I know you kind of check yourself out until the first preseason game, but I know you have to be following a little bit.
Here's the thing. I don't have a lot of faith in the Bears and just being able to retain their talent. Like you said, this is his second holdout. And I know we have the cap space because we got the quarterback on the rookie deal. We should just sign him and get it over with. But it wouldn't surprise me if we pull some garbage and we're like, well, we're not going to be very good this year, so we might as well try and trade him while his value is at an all-time high. So that's my only pause. It'd be like the McCaskies just sort of cheap out and say, no, we can't do it.
Even with a new regime, you'd still think that the Bears would have figured out how valuable the linebacker position is. Our entire lifetime has existed with one of the greatest linebackers of all time in Brian Urlacher. A few years ago, we let Leonard Floyd walk out the door. He goes and wins a Super Bowl with the LA Rams and is an impact player. Obviously, I think Roquan Smith is better than Leonard Floyd, but he made a tremendous contribution to the LA Rams the last couple seasons and was a great sidekick to Aaron Donald when he was getting tripled. And I don't want to see that happen with a Roquan Smith. Obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Khalil Mack. I mean, he dealt with a plethora of injuries in his time in Chicago, but in his short time in the Navy and Orange, he instantly became one of my favorite athletes to ever walk. And let's just recognize how important the linebacking positions have been for this franchise.
Yep.
Dick Butkus, Mike Singletary. This is not new. Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, this should be a no-brainer.
Yeah. I think they'll get it done. They probably wouldn't have put him on the PUP list to keep him from not getting fined if they knew they weren't going to get something done. That's kind of where I'm sitting with it. So, because he's not hurt. I mean, he's been on the bikes at practice. He's not hurt. So, I mean, I think it's just to avoid him from getting fined, because that's part of the collective bargaining agreement that if you hold out, it doesn't even matter what the reason is. If you hold out and you get fined by your team or the NFL, I don't know how it really works, but obviously if it's in the collective bargaining agreement, some sort of fashion through the NFL. So, yeah.
Well, for the record, I probably wouldn't be practicing. I know it's year one in the system, but if I'm the best player on the team and I'm like a 5th year pro, I'm probably not practicing if I don't have to. Even though you got to get acclimated, it's not surprising me if he's not like actually in pads. You know, I could see myself doing the same thing.
I will say another seasoned veteran and tackling / sack machine in Robert Quinn. He was practicing today, and I'm a huge fan of his, but I will say it did seem as if he was kind of going through the motions and more so being a vocal leader than anything. I mean, he's been in this league over a decade, so I understand it on some level, but he's also coming off of the greatest season he's had in the league, and he's in his early 30s. So I would kind of keep the foot on the gas if I were him, and hopefully he serves another big role with this defense coming into September.
Well, I guess we're gonna run short on time here, but we'll switch it real quick. Can't leave this podcast without talking about the offensive line, and I need to know, like, is Sam Mustipher getting his ass kicked out there yet? Like, is he like off the team? Has he been cut yet? Like, what's happening out there? I know he was in right guard yesterday and maybe played a little center because Lucas Patrick got hurt. I mean, did you even see the Lucas Patrick thing when he got hurt? They didn't say much about it, so I'm assuming it's not terrible, but also wouldn't surprise me that it's like the worst thing ever because the Bears don't talk about injuries. But so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he's not severely injured and he'll be there for the beginning of the season. But
Matthias, let me ease your concerns on the Sam Mustipher front. I do not believe you will see him set foot on the field with the starting O-line in any form or fashion once week 1 rolls around. We've reloaded just this week on the offensive line with some veteran names. You talk about Lucas Patrick coming to the good side after spending most of his career in Green Bay. And the hometown kid, Michael Schofield, he
finally got out of prison.
He is so elated to be back home where he belongs. I don't think number 65 will be spending – oh, sorry, that's Cody Whitehair. Number 67 will be spending any time on the front lines blocking for Justin Fields this time around.
Hell to the yeah. I saw that Michael Schofield stuff come up that he was working on. I was like, there is a God. Today's the day. And you know how we talked about a couple weeks ago, we talked about the raw athletic ability scores or whatever. And so somebody had Sam Mustipher's compared to Michael Schofield, and it was like 8 points better. I was just like, good. It don't even matter. You could put a turd out there with a raw athletic score and it would be better than Sam Mustipher's score. I'm just saying, you got to roll with it.
Easy. Cruz could be listening.
That's fine. I'll take him to a bar fight. It's not the first time I've been punched in the head.
Hopefully you don't have him on as a guest. He'll try to jump through the screen and grab you by the neck here, Matthias.
Hey, we're all about the clicks here. If that's what gets the views, we're in.
I saw that he will not be on the post-game show this fall.
Oh, I did not see that.
They announced that today.
Yeah, he really screwed the pooch when he choke slammed Adam Hogue. There's got to be a video out there. Somebody's got to like.
There's no way they didn't have security cameras or something.
I need to see this video. Like Adam Hogue just ripping ass on Sam Mustipher and just gets choke slammed by Olin Kreutz. Like he took one for the team. Respect Adam Hogue.
There has to be footage in the CHGO office. They've got cameras set up all around that joint. it wouldn't be surprised me if they've suppressed the footage.
Nick, you got the ins to CHGO. Let's
I
find
do.
that video, man.
I do. Not to get too far off the rails, but
Oh no, we're already off the rails. We might as well just keep taking this train and driving it deeper.
We're so far off the rails are just a dot to us. That's how far we are away from the rails.
Matthias,
I literally texted Noah. I'm like, these guys know their stuff, but we do tend to get off the rails.
well, going down that path even further and kind of tying it to the Olin Kreutz situation, someone who has had many bad words to say about Olin Kreutz in George McCaskey, he was down the cart path greeting fans today, as he often does at training camp, and I evaded his knuck that he put out toward me.
Dang.
And kind of put a spin move on him. I've met him before. That was when I was naive. And just because you're an NFL owner doesn't mean I have to kiss the ring, because you haven't provided one for me in my lifetime. So I put the old Khalil Mack spin move on him.
That was pretty good.
Bring me a Super Bowl before I even come in your inner circle, if you will.
Until you give me a Super Bowl, you're getting the cold shoulder, son.
What about Virginia? Are there any signs of life with her?
Jesus.
Teeny, I don't want to wish any ill will toward the First Lady.
I didn't wish anything on her. Just like, what's going on? She's like 98.
You will see her in December at Green Bay, at the Frozen Tundra in Green Bay, in negative temperatures, just absolutely freezing her tail off, because that she's committed to the craft more than her son.
Hey, 1 month at a time, all right?
Jeez.
Wow, here you are yelling at us.
Virginia McCaskey doesn't miss a game. I'll give her far more credit than George, who's running the show as of late.
You know, and here's my theory on all this. You know, I mean, God bless her soul, but I mean, she's not going to be around forever, obviously. But, you know, I feel like the Arlington Heights ploy by George and Ted is obviously a key selling point for the franchise, that they're out once she's not holding the string anymore.
I agree.
Yeah, and I'm not being morbid on any way, shape, or form. I don't think, you know, obviously we're in a medical
Aiden.
We're in an incredible age for medical advancements, but I would be surprised if she's around in 2030 for the potential new stadium.
She's in her upper 90s, and here he is. She ain't gonna be around in 8 years.
2.5 years of a pandemic unscathed, though. So
true. No, and knock on wood, it keeps rolling. She's been incredible. But I do agree with that point, Matthias. How old is she actually? 98?
I think it's 98. She's going to be 106 pulling out trades for Justin Fields. Just watch this.
You're going to get us canceled here, Matthias.
We've said a lot worse on the internet that I haven't been canceled yet. I think we're just fine.
She's actually 99.
Oh my!
Wait,
there you go.
Okay, when did she turn 100?
January 5th, 1923 was when she was born. So we're like creeping up.
So I think
the regular season is 100.
Week 16, she'll be crossing the threshold, the big 100.
She'll be making her flight plans for the playoffs when she turns 100.
No, they'll be coming to her in Chicago.
That's true.
Home field advantage now. Come on.
Can we get the dome built in time?
the $2 billion proposal to add only 10,000 seats. Let's make it happen here.
You guys see, so I'm gonna pull up. We'll end on the stadium note here, but I'm gonna pull up this picture here. But Aiden and I were just talking about this before you guys all hopped on. But if you notice on the end zone photo, so she's putting the dome on, but there's nothing that is stopping that giant gap with there's no window. Like there's no area for a window. God, I'm just going through all of these Omaha Blue tweets here. Just bear with me here.
Wait, what happened?
I don't know. So look at this. Like there is nothing here. Like yeah, you put a roof over Soldier.
Tunnel.
Yeah, you put a giant roof over Soldier Field, but how are we going to stop the freaking north wind from coming in and making another Cody Parkey situation?
I was just having this conversation last night. I think it's for preservation of bear weather on some level. Mostly joking, but I know the new stadium out in Arlington Heights would likely have a dome, and if that's the case, I will be losing a piece of my heart because the identity of this football team does not exist without the elements, and I will be.
Stop it! If that was a thing, we would have won a lot more games a long time ago, and I fully believe that.
Noah, Matthias is the conductor on the train to Arlington Heights, by the way, buddy.
I see both sides of it, and I would love to have that conversation.
I get what you're saying though. Like you look back at the old videos, and you got like Richard Dent and Mike Singletary, puffing out the vapor out of their mouth, and stuff. It's just like you think about that kind of stuff. I get what you're saying.
It's embedded with the identity of this football team. You talk about
my gripe is, and you already made kind of a joke about bear weather, but my gripe is with it is like some of the fans are saying like, the Bears will never win a game because they're not playing outside anymore. Like if that was the case, like we would have won like every Super Bowl from the time being, since the last one. Like cold weather has not helped the Bears win football games.
I completely understand what you're saying, but in terms of being a fan of this franchise for my entire life, we've had so many unbelievable experiences in the bitter cold. I can't remember what year exactly. Nick could help me out on this one, but December 26th against the New York Jets, we're sitting as high up as you can imagine, and it is a snow blizzard. And these were the Mark Sanchez Jets when they were winning double-digit games every year. And the Bears stole one because the blizzard was a main factor, and we were just toting the rock with Matt Forte like nobody's business.
Yeah, that is pretty legit. I think it was 2011. I want to say it was our first ever regular season game. Regular season. We went to a bunch of preseason.
It was an unforgettable experience, and I know a dome is better for all of the players in terms of not having to deal with the elements and slip and fall and, not having to wear sleeves, whatever it may be. But in terms of the fan base, yes, they're going to have that village and build a community out in Arlington Heights, which will heighten the fan experience. But the Chicago Bears play at Soldier Field. There's only 3 teams in the NFL that don't have a corporate sponsor attached to their stadium name, and 2 of them are some of the founding franchises. So
I'm fully aboard the business model though, so we got to capitalize on this money here. So that's why that's what I'm saying.
Paul Brown Stadium, Soldier Field,
get the Final Four, the Super Bowl, all in Chicago. Let's do it.
I'll sell out if it means a Super Bowl ring. That's the only way I'm happy with the move to Arlington.
I'll do anything for a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, we know you would, buddy.
$20. $20 is $20.
Wait, hey, we all said the same thing about the Cubs in 2016.
That's right.
We do anything to win a World Series.
Put a dome on Wrigley Field. I don't care.
we got our World Series, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Just
at
the
what
entire
cost?
future of the franchise is a joke.
At what cost is no-name revolving door AAA players for the better part of a decade in the near future here?
It's gonna be fun. I'm excited for the Cubs' future.
Noah, we loved your expertise, but man, you took us long tonight, buddy.
Well, I would honestly have a podcast debate just on the stadium discussion. I've got Soldier Field over
Look,
my left shoulder here.
Let's schedule it right now. I already got an itinerary for the next time you hop on, man. We got Virginia McCaskey's health. We got the roof on Soldier Field. I mean, we could do a
Mitch.
full hour. And Mitch, we got a full hour on
Mitch's
3 topics
QB
right
battle.
I'm in.
And that'll just be you and Matthias, bro. You got it.
Yeah, I think Aiden's trying to close out the stream as we speak here. He was done 20 minutes ago.
Well, we'll wrap it up here, but thanks Noah for hopping on, and we'll try to be back here in a couple of weeks, and we'll do this thing again. And hopefully we got some nice things to talk about. Hopefully we have a Roquan Smith extension. Hopefully Arlington Heights is constructed by then, and we'll be rolling deep. So thanks Noah for hopping on. You can come back anytime you want,
Fellas, I had an absolute blast tonight. I think I provided about halfway through solid insight, and then we kind of went on a tangent that my homerism came out a little bit more. And I would love for you guys to be in the mix for kind of a home and home series over on the Juice Time podcast with my brother over in the corner there alongside me.
I'm in.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
But I will need to hear a few more words out of my man Keeney up in the top right there.
Hey, I put Virginia McCaskey on
Yeah, he put her on blast,
on
man.
Health Watch, so
Hey, if you think there's no leash on this show, I mean,
You shouldn't
can
have
just
said
let
that.
it fly on the Juice Time.
If you want no leash, I'll bring no leash.
Yeah,
That's no
Noah,
problem
you'll
for
be
me.
sleeping
Yeah, you
things
don't-
out.
Yeah.
You be careful
Well,
what you wish for.
We'll save that for November when Otzelberger basketball rolls around.
I'm in.
When my alma mater plays against ISU, and I will be
Wait, I thought you were an Iowa State grad.
for everyone in Ames, they know I got my master's there, but my
school's
undergrad
not over yet, right?
my undergrad took place at UW Milwaukee, so I will be
Oh my God.
I will be having a tough time during that non-conference game debating whether I should root for the Clones or the lowly Panthers.
No, you'll be at Hilton wearing the clones.
They're on a 1-game winning streak at Hilton. So shout out Steve Cohen.
They are.
Remember
They
that?
are in a 1-game winning streak at Hilton.
My freshman year of college, no less. Brock Stull, 17 points.
Frickin' prom.
Hey,
All right.
hey, a lot of people stay in college for 7 years, buddy.
They call them doctors.
Yeah. They're called doctors.
Yes.
Aiden from
Well-
the clouds.
Dude, he's a dog. Absolute dog.
On that note, everybody, thanks for hopping on and listen to the Bear With Us.